Hey, good afternoon, all. I welcome you all for the next session of this multi-criteria decision making. I'm Rahul Mohare, faculty from Department of Management Technology, Shri Ramdev Baba College of Engineering and Management. This is a 5-day FDP, fourth day of this FDP, and what we are going to deal with today. So today we will be dealing with the multiple criteria decision making techniques. So this is the MCDM, the short form, and what we are going to learn here means we will be learning at least 10 different MCDM techniques, as well as the outcomes of each technique, how we are going to apply that. What we have done is that we have kept a problem which will be common through all the techniques, so that it will be easy for all of us to learn the technique, to apply the technique and to get the answer, and so that it will be easy for us to compare that which technique will be more easier and how that is suitable to the given set of problem. So let us begin with all this. So multiple criteria decision making, the today's session. I welcome you all again. So outline means what we are going to have in today's session. So in today's session we are having the decision making and introduction to MCDM. Then we will be learning different MCDM method. We will be doing hands-on exercise with MS Excel. Means we will start with weighted sum model, weighted product model, and likewise we will be having 10 different methods for that. And for different fields we will be taking up some problems, and it will be a hands-on exercise with Excel only. So when it comes to the decision making, what we know about decision making, we all might have heard about the decision making, and we know that it is a branch of operation field. So means in today's generation, with the increased complexity of life, the business has grown tremendously in different directions, and hence there is a necessity to modify the organizations relevant to the business. Decision making is not practiced only in business areas, it is the process of life balance. Thus decision making is a requirement for each one of us. Once like everyone will be at some point of time in a position to make some kind of decision at all the times. So with the size and the complexity of business, high cost of labor, material and machine attract the attention for all those in need of something to make business more competitive. Competition has also reduced the availability of time and decision making, which has put a pressure on the quantity and the quality of information gathered required for day-to-day or strategic decision. Day-to-day life decisions are taken by us are solely based on our knowledge and the experience that we have got. The input information, means the one which we have collected, will be used for processing the decision. Means we apply some kind of technique to collect the data, we apply some kind of statistic, we apply some kind of method process on that data, so that we should reach to some kind of conclusion which will help us in making the decision. But when the problem becomes more complicated with large input of data, the analysis becomes more complicated, and hence it is means we are into requirement of effective use of systematic approach which can lead us to a better decision making process. So this has created the necessity of scientific methods for decision making for business. Typically when we consider about managerial decision making, we can divide this managerial decision making into two important perspectives. The first perspective could be the structured perspective, and second could be the unstructured forms of the problem. We all know, means in the operation theory we might have learned many things about decision making, and in the same line we know that in the structured form we obtain the procedure for getting the best solution, and in the unstructured form we deal with the human instinct or intuition for formalizing the decision. Means this may be because that all the aspects of information cannot be structured. So when we are talking about decision making in operation research, that too in a multi-criteria decision making, we need to focus on many factors, and we need to consider every factor with some weight, means that have their equal importance either that have an equal importance or they may have different level of importances. So why we need to consider each parameter, each criteria, which will be having some unique weightage while that contributes to the decision making. So it is of more importance and we should pay much attention to this particular area, that is the multiple criteria decision making. So it all begins with the decision making. In general, it's a vast area of study for a multitude of subject field. It can simply be interpreted as a process of the selection of a sensible choice from the set of possible options. Means we'll be having different options. We might have done some kind of analysis for getting that alternatives. We might have selected some criteria subjected to our own alternative. So all the possible options will be with us and we need to apply some kind of logical thinking to select a best alternative. When it comes to human, the decision making process or the reasoning is complex and it is affected by many factors which can be both internal and external. So like means we want to take a decision that we want to participate a particular FDP. Okay, means what could be the decision making criteria then? Means what is the fees, what is the mode, what certificate they are going to give, whether the exam will be conducted or not, whether I will be sparing much time or not, whether connectivity will be an issue from my end. Means these are different parameters that we may consider while making a decision. Human reasoning is directly affected by human psychology. However, this behavior is extremely difficult to be correctly mimicked by computer. Means we cannot say that machine could mimic a human body or human nature. So why everything cannot be mimicked by computer, but yes, the MCDM techniques that can be solved by computer only, because that is solely based on the logic and the formulas. So a computer's decision making process is solely based on logic, unlike humans. So why in the MCDM techniques also we are having the formulas, we are having the logic for everything, and we'll be using that logic, we'll be putting or applying that logic to get the answer, to select a best alternative from the available one. So when it comes to multiple criteria decision making, as the name suggests, multiple criteria means we may be having n number of criteria for a single alternative. For example, let us consider that we want to purchase a mobile phone. Then while selection of a mobile phone, there may be n number of criteria. Some criteria may be qualitative, some criteria may be quantitative. Means qualitative criteria means maybe what is the brand, do it have the service quality or not, means best service available or not. Quantitative means what is the price, what is the RAM size, what is the memory size, what is the screen size, how the camera works. Means n number of criteria are there which can be molded into the quantitative one. So if multiple criteria are there and there is a chance or somebody had come up with a problem that these are the multiple criteria available with me and now I want to select a particular alternative. Means if I have a problem that I may spare from 20,000 to 40,000, what are the best alternatives that will be available with me for selection of a smartphone with respect to the subjected criteria. So in that case, definitely we are going to select the MCDM technique. So it concerns with the structuring and solving decision and planning problem which involves multiple criteria. The purpose is to support decision makers facing such problem. Typically there doesn't exist a unique or optimal solution because there may be n number of MCDM technique. One technique may give brand 1 as first preference, another technique may give brand 6 as the first preference. It all depends on the way the particular MCDM technique is being developed, designed and application and put into application. So why the solution that a multiple criteria decision making techniques are giving, they not be treated as the unique and cannot be generalized in a way. So it has been developed or it has been coined. The name was coined by Stanley Jones in 1979 through his paper MCDM. If not a Roman numeral, then what? This was the paper and he was the person who coined this particular term, multiple criteria decision making. And basically it is concerned with structuring and solving decision and planning problem involving multiple criteria. Means if we are having multiple criteria and want to select a particular alternative, then yes, we are going to narrow in or we need to zero in with the MCDM techniques only. Now whenever we talk about MCDM, what we are having some different synonyms for it. Means it may be multiple criteria decision analysis, multiple dimension decision analysis, multi objective decision making, multi attributes decision making. So in any case, means you call it by any name, MCDA, MDDM, MODM, MADM. In any case, what the thing that you will be requiring two foremost things. First will be the alternative and second will be the criteria. Alternative represents the different choices of actions or entities which are available to the decision maker. Usually the set of alternatives which is assumed to be finite, ranging from several to 100. Means now what, let us consider the same example of mobile phone. If you want to purchase a mobile phone which is ranging from 20,000 to 40,000, then all the alternatives with the subjected criteria that you are going to mention will be with you. It may be 10, it may be 100, it may be 1000, up to you, but they should be finite, they should be countable, and they should be distinct, and they should be separable. So these are the alternatives that will be available with us. Now the criteria, it represents that different dimension from which alternatives can be viewed. Means if we are considering the same example of mobile, then the criteria may be that RAM size should be there, memory size should be there, then camera should be there, then price should be there, then antivirus software should be there, then the free service should be there, then the brand should be there. There are n number of criteria that you can consider, but the thing that we should remember is that criteria should not be dependent on each other. Means it should not be a case that if I want to get 8 GB of external memory slot, then the particular smartphone must contain 2 GB RAM. Means this should not be the dependent criteria. While selecting the criteria, whenever you will be selecting the criteria for a particular alternative or freezing all the alternatives, then you must take care of this thing, that the criteria shall not be the dependent criteria. A simple example means if we are having 6 different brands, means brand 1, brand 2, brand 3, brand 4, 5, 6, and these are the criteria that we are going to consider: cost, weight, RAM, screen size, and storage capacity. 5 in all, 5 criteria we are having. The cost range from 17,500 to 37,000. The weight in grams range from 166 gram to 217 gram. RAM in GB is ranging from 3 GB RAM to highest is 8 GB RAM. Screen size, the smallest one is 5.6 and the highest is 8 inch or centimeter. Sorry, it should be inches. Storage capacity in GB, and that is the secondary memory. The minimum one is 64 GB and the highest one is 256 GB. Now you want to select a mobile phone based on this criteria. Which mobile or which alternative you will select? Which criteria shall be considered to have high value and which criteria shall be considered to have low value? Means what will be in terms of affordability, what will be in terms of benefit, and what will be in terms of cost. Means if you want to divide this criteria into two different parts, first will be the cost and second will be the benefit, then definitely what we will be thinking, we must or we may think in a way that the criteria should be, should be having the high value, should be the RAM. Means more the RAM, more better the phone is. More screen size, more better to view anything onto your mobile phone. More storage, means so that you could store maximum things into your mobile. So this will be the values, which is higher the better. Once RAM is higher, then it is better. Screen size is higher, then it is better. Storage is higher, then it is better. So why this will be treated as a beneficiary criteria. Whenever we freeze on with the criterias of respective alternatives, then we need to consider that the criteria should fall into one of the two category. One is the beneficiary criteria, second is the non-beneficiary criteria. Beneficiary criteria is a criteria in which higher the value is the best, and the non-beneficiary criteria, lower the value is best. Means whenever we talk about the cost, definitely what we will say, that if I will get all these things in a lower cost, it will be of high value with me, or it will be highly appreciable for me. So if cost is low, then it is okay. If weight is low, then also it is okay. So why this will be treated as a non-beneficiary criteria or a cost criteria. Means either monetary or non-monetary criteria, beneficiary, non-beneficiary criteria, benefit criteria, or cross criteria. You may call it by any name. Different literature uses different words for it. So this is a simple example. So we started with a simple example that if we want 6 if we have to get a new mobile or new smartphone, out of 6 different alternatives with respect to 5 different criteria, we need to freeze in with one particular brand or with one particular alternative. What will be that alternative? We will come to know whenever we are going to apply the MCDM technique for it. So components of MCDM, what basic things are there into the MCDM? So first is identifying goal or objective. We need to identify what goal we are going to set. We need to identify the selection criteria. Then we need to identify the alternatives, which alternatives we are going to consider. Then we need to assign some weight to the respective criteria, means which criteria should have the highest value. Means if I consider that RAM is most important for me, because that whenever a game is being played, it will directly load it into RAM. Whenever an application is being there, I will be using more number of applications to run that all applications parallelly, more size of RAM will be needed. So RAM is a highest criteria for me, so definitely the weight for having RAM must be more. So that is the weighting method, means weighing method. We are supposed to apply some weight to the respective criteria, and then aggregation. After applying weight to the respective criteria value, we need to sum up all these values, and then we need to rank it, and then we will be getting the right preference for selection of a best alternative. So these are the 5 different components of MCDM. So let us go through it one by one. Identifying the goal, objective of the decision making process. This is the step which is very straightforward, and it involves the current identification of the goal for final output of the decision making. Means like my goal is that I need to get a smartphone within the criteria starting from 20,000 to 40,000. Below 20,000 it's not okay for me, and about 40,000 I am not going to afford. So this is my objective, to get a smartphone, and I am limiting myself to this particular bracket. Selection of a criteria. Whenever we are going to consider the criteria for selection of a smartphone, then it should be consistent with the decision and should be independent of each criteria. Means one criteria shall not be dependent on the other criteria, because you will be losing the freedom for selection of the different criterias. Because if one is dependent on the other, then while selecting one you need to select the second also. It becomes a compulsion for you. So whenever you are going to deal with the criteria selection, they should be very much clear. You should be very much clear that you are going to select the independent criteria. This should be represented on the same and a measurable scale. Whenever we are going to deal with the criteria, we need to understand that we are using the values on a measurable scale, so that they should be interrelated with the alternatives. Means all the criteria should be interrelated with the alternatives. Then selection of alternative. Whenever we are going to select alternatives, the attributes such as the availability and comparability must be taken into consideration. The alternative should be realistic and a practical one. Means like if I am going to have a mobile phone, then I may not expect all the best things should fall into the lowest category. Means in 20,000 only I should be getting the maximum RAM. In 20,000 I will be getting the maximum screen size. In 20,000 I will be getting the most favored brand. In 20,000 I will be getting the highest resolution camera. In 20,000 I will be getting the most sought after secondary memory. Means we should not have this kind of unrealistic criteria values with respect to the alternative. So it should be very practical and very clearly mentioned, and where very clearly we can use it. Then the selection of weighing method. The weighting of a criteria specifies the importance of the respective criteria. Means just now what we have discussed is that if RAM is more important for me, then the weightage for RAM should be of higher side. Means let us consider that we are having 4 criteria. RAM is there, secondary memory is there, camera is there, and then let us consider RAM, secondary memory, camera, and then let us consider the screen size. So if I say that screen size doesn't make any difference for me, I should have the RAM, then RAM should have the highest weightage. Let us say 50% weightage should be given for RAM. Then the next weightage I should give for the secondary memory. Means I need that secondary memory should also be greater, so I am giving 30% weightage to that. So in any case, the number of criteria that you have and the weights that you are assigning for the respective criteria should sum up equal to 1. Means if I am having 5 criteria, then I assign any value to each criteria, any weight to each criteria, but the weight values should be sum equal to 1. Means that weight value sum should be equals to 1. And the next and the last step in this MCDM is the aggregation. Now this step will separate the best alternative from the available option. This could be the mathematical function or a simple average. So there are different methods for the aggregation. The simplest one that we are going to use for all the methods that we are learning in this workshop is the rank method. We are going to rank the alternatives, and on the basis of that rank value, we are going to select the best alternative. So these are the components. Now let us consider, or let us go through the multiple criteria decision making process. So the step one, in all means in different literature you may find different number of steps. The one which I personally like is the simplest one. This is step one: identify the problem, then develop the decision criteria, then allocate weights to the criteria, then develop the alternative, formulate decision matrix, apply suitable MCDM techniques, and then rank alternative. Selection of a smartphone is a problem. Develop decision criteria. The criteria was price, then weight, then RAM, then screen size, and then the secondary memory. So this was the decision criteria. Allocate weights to the decision criteria. For time being and the simplicity, for the ease of understanding, let us say that 5 criteria will be having weight 0.2 or simply 20% weight to each criteria. Equal weight method, that is called as equal weight method. Then develop alternative. 6 brands have been selected. Then formulate decision matrix, which we have already formulated, that one brand comes with so and so price with so and so values for the respective criteria, and apply suitable MCDM technique. We are having thousands of MCDM techniques. We need to identify the best suitable one, and we can apply that technique to the given decision matrix, and then we will be getting out the best alternative for our own decision making process. And the final step will be the ranking of alternatives. Since 6 alternatives are there, 6 brands are available, which brand shall be considered? Means if I say the one which is of 40,000 you should consider, then I realize that okay, I'm not having 40,000, I should not go with first one. Then what is the second? Then second alternative also you should have. So you need to rank all the alternatives. So this is how the multiple criteria decision making process works. So these are the methods. Means aggregated indices randomization method is there, analytical hierarchy process is there, which is quite very favorite. Then ANP is there, BCM is there, then IDAS is there, evaluation based on distance from average solution. This is very new method. Gray relational analysis again is a new method. Mura is there, Corpus is there, then Topsys is there, then WSM is there, WPM is there, VASPAS method is also there. So there are many methods which are available with us, and you explore it into Google, you will come to know that there are many methods which are there into MCDM, and it all goes with the selection of the alternative only. More or less the process is same. Now what process we are going to apply, means what is the thing or what we will be having to begin with the problem. What we will be having the decision matrix, and we will be having the weight matrix. Decision matrix means the column will indicate the criterias and the rows will indicate the alternatives. So the format will be of decision matrix. Weight matrix means what is the weight of each criteria which is available to us. So the very first thing is to go with the normalization. When we talk about normalization, it is the important process because the data should be transferred into comparable values using normalization. Because if we convert the values into measurable values of similar unit, it will be easy for us to make some kind of calculation on that. So why we need to normalize the data, as price is having different unit, RAM is having different unit, screen size is having different unit, then the gram weight is having different unit. We need to normalize it so that we could be in a position to apply the MCDM technique. So normalization changes different measurable values into similar unit. Criteria are a parameter to normalization which is performed in adaptive manner called adaptive normalization. There are many different methods, and the methods which are available with us is linear method. All linear, 3 linear methods are there. One vector normalization is there, second is logarithmic normalization. Look, what we need to remember is that whenever we are going to apply the normalization technique, the normalization for benefit criteria will be different and the cost criteria will be different. It is not a case that the normalization will be applicable to all the units at one time in the same way. So we should be very sure that this is the thing we should remember for applying the normalization technique. Means if the benefit criteria is there, then a different formula is to be applied. If a cost criteria is there, then different technique is to be applied. In the simplest way, means if you can see this, then for the benefit criteria, Rij upon Rmax, means what that mean is that in the given criteria column, each value must be divided by the maximum value present in the column if it is a benefit criteria. When we are talking about the cost criteria, then the same thing, means you perform the each sale value divided by the maximum value, and you should supply that and you should subtract it from 1. So this will be for the cost criteria. So you can select any one of the criteria, means there is no theory, there is no such algorithm, or there is no such method which could describe it well, that for this particular method you should go for this normalization technique. As such, there is nothing like that. You could do your own research, you could write your paper that for this particular technique this is the best thing which is available with us. You could write your paper also. The area is quite very open to perform all these experiments into this MCDM technique. So these are the different normalization technique. Now consider that we are dealing with the same problem. So normalization is the process of normalizing the rating of different alternative into same range. It means the range, when we say range, it means that the values must range between 0 to 1. Means nothing should go beyond 1 and nothing shall fall below 0. So that is the range which is fixed whenever we are going to go for the normalization. Initially all criteria are dimensionless, so we have to eliminate the units in each criteria. So this is a price unit, this is the gram unit, this is a GB unit, this is a centimeter unit, this is a storage capacity again in a GB unit. So we need to eliminate all these units. So why the normalization is necessary, and so we will be comparing, or we will be converting that criteria, and it will get modified with the comparable values. So when we apply a normalization technique, means if we continue with the same example, a simple normalization technique is being applied. Now look, the cost and weight are the non-beneficiary criteria which we have discussed earlier. Then RAM, screen size and storage capacity are the beneficiary criteria. Higher the value will give the benefit, lower the value will give the benefit. So what we have done, means the linear technique of the normalization, what we have done, the simplest normalization. There are different kind of normalization technique, means in 10 techniques that we are going to learn into MCDM, we will be having different normalization techniques also. So we will be using different methods. So here what we have done is the simplest one. If consider that each value in the respective column is divided by maximum value of the respective column for the beneficiary criteria. Means for this criteria, means whenever we say the criteria in beneficiary 3 divided by the maximum value, means 3 divided by 8, it will come out to be 0.38. When it comes again 3 divided by 8, 0.38. When it comes 6 divided by 8, it comes 0.75. When it comes 4 divided by 8, it comes 0.5, and 8 divided by 8, 4 divided by 8. So dividing each cell value with the maximum value for the beneficiary criteria. When it comes to the non-beneficiary criteria, what is the method? The method that we are going to apply is that dividing the minimum value by each value from the respective column. So for the minimum value which is present over here, so minimum value is 17,500. If 17,500 is being divided by 22,000, so here the value will be 0.80. 17,1500 value will be divided by 24,000, value will be 0.73. Likewise, we have calculated the values, and hence we will be having a normalized decision matrix. The matrix that you are having into your screen is called as the normalized decision matrix. So we started with a problem wherein 6 brands was available with 5 criterias with their respective unit. First unit was in rupees, then gram, then GB, then centimeter, and then GB again, and we have converted that into a measurable and comparable unit, and this is the method of normalization. Next is assigning the weight. So weight is, as we have discussed, that every criteria will be having their own weight value, and it depends on the group of people, group of investigators who can mutually decide that this particular criteria should be considered as the highest weighted criteria. They could assign the weight as per the criteria. It may be any value, but the only constraint is that the sum of all weight must be equal to 1. The values of the criteria can be represented by the statistical data, the estimates assigned by the experts, and the values of technological or technical characteristics of the considered process. The influence of the criteria on this process and their importance differ to some extent. Means you may think that RAM should have the higher weight. I may think no, RAM doesn't make any sense. The secondary memory should have the higher weight. The conflict will always be there, but yes, it it influence the criteria weight selection a little, but not in a much way. Means I will share you with two papers wherein they have done the kind of analysis by assigning different weights to the criteria that are available, but somehow the results that they have received is same. So why it doesn't make any difference to the to major extent. But the main idea for the criteria's weight evaluation is that in fact most important criteria is assigned the largest weight and in any method used for criteria weight evaluation. But the thing that we were discussing is that the sum of all weights should be equal to 1. The actual values of the criteria weights have a great influence on determining the importance of the alternative and choosing the best solution, and therefore the problems associated with their estimates are widely investigated both in theory and practice of MCDM methods application. So what we have done means till now this were our decision matrix, the normalized decision matrix, and these are the weight. The weighting techniques that we are having is equal weight technique. Second technique will be the weight which is being calculated by using the method of standard deviation, and third technique that we are going to learn is weight calculation through entropy method. So here in this particular example, for the sake of simplicity and understanding, we have used the simple and the easiest method, the equal weight method. Means this 5 criterias are having equal weight 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. The sum of all these weight value will be equal to 1. So now what we are going to do, we are having a decision matrix which is the normalized matrix. Now means all the units are into measurable and comparable unit, and we are having the weight matrix. Now what we have started with, we have started with the decision matrix. Next step was to normalize the decision matrix. The normalization method may be anything, means linear method that we are applying, vector normalization can be there, logarithmic normalization will be there. The normalization will be different for the benefit criteria, normalization method will be different for the cost criteria. So the first step was to normalize the thing. After normalizing, what we are going to have, we are having the weight matrix, and next what we are going to do, since we need to select the best alternative, we are going to multiply these values. Means this cost value will get multiplied with the weight value, this weight value should get multiplied with this weight value, this RAM value will get multiplied with this weight value, screen size value will get multiplied with the weight value, and we will be having a new matrix, and that will be a weighted normalized matrix. Now after normalizing the data and having the weight matrix, the next step is to obtain the weighted normalized matrix, which we are having, means which is present on your screen. The weighted normalized matrix is obtained by multiplying the respective normalized value with the respective weight value. The table which is in front of us is the weighted normalized matrix for the example that we have considered. So this is a mere multiplication. So next step is over. Now the last step is to aggregate the thing. So means if you remember the last step of the 7-step process, the last step was to aggregate the thing. So what kind of aggregation we are going to having? We are just summing the things. So 0.16 plus 0.14 plus 0.08 plus 0.18 plus 0.10, the sum is coming out to be 0.66, then 0.70, 0.72, 0.61, 0.83, 0.64, and after doing this aggregation to select a particular brand or an alternative, we have assigned a rank. Rank assignment is up to us again, that what kind of rank value we are going to apply. There are means if you are aware with the rank order correlation or rank correlation, then we know that there are two different ranking method. The one highest value highest rank, or lowest value highest rank, up to us that how we want to assign. But since we want to select the best alternative, we are giving the highest value, highest rank. So the rank value 1 will be applied to this alternative. It means that brand 5 should be your first priority of selection. Then the preference value is 0.72, then the rank 2 should be applied to this brand 3. Likewise, we will be assigning rank to each and every alternative that we are having into our problem. So this is how the MCDM technique can be used to get a right alternative from the given set of problem, and we can apply, or we have the liberty, means during the entire set of process of solving MCDM technique, where we can exercise our liberty. The liberty could be exercised by in the application of normalization technique. The liberty could be exercised by on application of weight value. Means these are the two places wherein we could exercise the liberty. And next, the final one is how we are going to rank the preferences, means highest value highest rank or lowest value highest rank. So it is up to us that how we are going to rank the given alternatives. So this is the last phase, means here we conclude the MCDM technique is being used successfully, and this particular MCDM technique is given us or had given us this set of alternatives with so and so rank value. Means this could be the thing which we need to conclude from the given problem. So thank you guys, thank you for listening me, and if you have any query, then do post it onto our WhatsApp group, right? Have a nice day. Thank you.